Seemed like it was pretty chippy out there, too. What was the vibe like between the team?
Chicago always like that. They like to talk trash, get us out of our game a little bit. That's what they do. You know, we just play our own game, mind our own business, keep playing football.
At the end of the game, I think it was like a punt. One of the guys, John, you and Thielen and KJ, what was going on there?
I don't know. They just be liking to talk just to talk sometimes. But, I mean, I like that. I like that energy. It gets me more fired up. So if they want to keep doing it, go ahead.
Justin Jefferson got his Pro Bowl jersey before the game. The NFL announcing some of the members of the Pro Bowl rosters the day before they announce all of them. I think we care less and less about the Pro Bowl a year without it, and we hardly missed it. But we'll be hearing everyone who's made it to the Pro Bowl coming up later today, including Justin Jefferson. The Vikings trying to get to the playoffs with a 17-9 victory. It didn't come down to the last play, although there was a score on the last play that, but for the 2018 rule that dispenses with the extra point on a final play touchdown if it's irrelevant to the outcome, ended up preserving the Vikings -7, which is what the final spread became because the Bears had a bunch of guys on the COVID reserve list. But, you know, it was just kind of a weird, sluggish. It was like the Vikings. You know when you have one of those dreams and you feel like everything you try to do is in slow motion? I feel like everything the Vikings were trying to do was in slow motion, but they were still doing what they needed to do. Their defense was opportunistic and or lucky, but the offense just always felt like it was off. I mean, Kirk Cousins had 87 passing yards, the lowest total of his entire career, Chris. And, you know, if I'd have seen his stat line going into the game, I'd have said, here's another one of those. Bears beat the Vikings at Soldier Field.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're right. Bears should have beat the Vikings at Soldier Field, except they're a dumpster fire of issues. I mean, that's where it's like that. You know, Mike, in all honesty, I think they outplayed the Vikings in a lot of ways last night. But, I mean, 2 fumbles, blocked field goal, penalties everywhere. You know, I mean, dropped a punt, you know, bad 4th down calls, horrible challenge on a touchdown where it was like, we're going to commercial break. The guy didn't catch it. He didn't catch the ball, let alone he definitely wasn't in bounds. He didn't catch it. I mean,
shin was down, but he didn't. I think he got so caught up on the shin being down.
Yeah, exactly. He missed the fact that the ball was
not hold the ball.
Exactly, 100%. I mean, it was. I feel like, again, the Vikings won the game, right? But I feel like a little bit like I felt like with the Raiders in the last conversation. Do we really got to talk about them just because they won the game? Do we really got to talk about them? Like, please, I don't want to. The Vikings are another one of those teams that I will classify in the Chris Simms CIA files to go, I don't want to see you in the playoffs. Please, I don't want to see you. Oh, my gosh. And I mean, just a weird game altogether. Yeah, I mean, they won because they're a little bit more battle-tested. They got a little more maturity on their football team, and the Bears have a propensity to screw things up like no other team I've ever seen, with just dumb penalties, turnovers, stupid management of the game. It was unbelievable. And that to me would be my takeaway from the game more than anything, Mike. I'm sorry to disrespect your Vikings or anything like that, but yeah, the fact that we were sitting there, you know, and it was still a game in the third quarter, to me was you know, almost laughable at some points.
In this holiday season, why would you want to spoil the dreams of the 9-year-old version of me who can't wait for the Vikings to make it in as the 7th seed and lose 41-0 to the number 2 seed? Why would you want to kill that dream?
I'm trying to save them some scars so they're not edgy like you as they grow up.
High-profile embarrassment, because we know what's coming. If they get into the postseason field, they are going to be, and I know that I'm running the risk of being old takes. Don't want to be on old takes exposed. I know I'm running the risk of that and trying to have an opinion on something, but I believe that they will be destroyed in the wild card round. Unless they get lucky and get to go back to Arizona where they almost won the game. And I don't know. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be the 2 seed. I think the Vikings are going to have to go to Green Bay or Tampa if they end up in the playoff field, and they will get destroyed in the wild card round. So what's the point other than the hope that maybe Mike Zimmer saves his job? That's it.
I know. I mean, you're right. I mean, again, I don't know what else to say. There's a lot to respect about the Minnesota football team. You know, the way they've fought. I know they've hung in there with some of the better teams in football and won some heartbreakers and all of that. We certainly could discuss it, but yeah, to me, there's certainly, you know, an element of the team that is not playoff worthy. It really isn't. You know, there's things about it, like I said, that I do respect and I like, but I just think they're a team that's, on the outside looking in. They're not one of the teams that deserve to be in the big dance. And last night, even though they won 17-9, and I know that, it showed it to me. You know, there you are. You got a team that's trying to mess the game up, trying to let you blow them out and win by 30. And they don't even take advantage of it at any point and let them hang around and hang around and hang around. You know, and of course the Bears, hey, if you took the Vikings off the field, they'd probably find a way to still mess up the drive and not score points. You know, and they did that for the Vikings. They screwed up opportunities to make it a game over and over and over again on a night where, I mean, it just was crazy. It really was. It's another game where I'm a little conflicted on what to say. To me, what more jumps out is the team who played better also is the team that screwed it up and constantly made mistakes. You know, and that reflects, of course, on the coaching, and that's where there's issues in Chicago.
I'm looking at the Vikings season now. It's 7-7. They've led every single game of the year. Their one signature win, there is no signature win. Beating the Packers, that's their signature win, 34-31.
Right.
They have one game where the final score was more than one score, and that was the Seahawks back in week 3, but we didn't realize how bad in comparison to their past performances the Seahawks would be. It's just up and down roller coaster. And I guess it's odd that it didn't come down to the final play of a game, in a game where the Vikings played as poorly as they have in any game all year long, because they really did. Their offense was not good. Their defense was opportunistic more than dominant, although they have become the first team since the 1974 Raiders to have 2 or more sacks in each of the first 14 games of a season, so they got that going for them, which is nice. The Bears, though, Chris, I sensed something from Matt Nagy last night when we go back 4 weeks to the noise that was kicked up about him possibly being fired after the Thanksgiving game, and we add that to the rule that was passed last week that I really don't think we've yet to get our arms around. The idea that teams are going to be able to interview coaches with 2 weeks left in the regular season. 2 teams already have a head start on that, the Raiders and the Jaguars. But you're going to have to fire the coach you have or tell him it's over after the season. I don't think anybody's going to say to a guy, you're fired and you're the interim coach. I think if you're out, you're out. And they'll give someone else an audition down the stretch, because who knows? Maybe they find somebody in-house they like. But I'm not going to be shocked if Matt Nagy gets fired this morning, or at least if you attached him to a lie detector test, he believed last night that was his last stand, because he was acting like a guy
I agree.
who just didn't. I mean,
I thought you were
respect
gonna
that.
go with this. Yeah,
I respect that.
Right.
He was going out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna throwing the red flag down and yelling at the officials and doing everything he could to try to will his team toward victory, because I think he knew that this was it. If you lose this one, there's a good chance you're going to have to go see George McCaskey today, and you're going to have one last conversation with him before they clear the decks and begin their search for a new coach starting officially next Monday. Here's Matt Nagy talking about last night's experience at Soldier Field.
9 total penalties, 5 personal fouls, 1 including myself. So that it was an emotional game, and I think that it sucks losing, but when I'm, talking to the guys and just knowing for me to understand where they're at and to see their fight, I appreciate that.
What was your conversation with Terrence Miles about, and what was it about that situation that pushed you over the edge to get the flag?
Yeah, I saw what happened, and our guys are fighting their asses off to get off the field, and I saw what happened. So I explained my opinion on it. And, I don't regret it.
That's the voice of a guy who was yelling and screaming for 3 hours in what may have been his last stand. And, the other side of it too, Chris, and it occurred to me last night when you see all of the various personal fouls committed by the Bears, as the game got chippier and chippier. When your head coach gets one early, it's kind of an implicit green light to everybody else.
No doubt. Exactly right. Again, you talk about what Matt Nagy was talking about, 9 penalties, all the personal fouls. That reflects coaching right there. I mean, period. When you get into that type of stuff, let alone, hey, the careless play on the field, the little lack of attention to detail with, certain plays or, certain management of situations, it just seems to come up a lot. Let alone, hey, turnovers, blocked field goal, can't catch a punt, all of that. There's just, it's not a good look. It's, hey, the Steelers game, on Monday night 4 weeks ago, they line up offsides like 10 out of 14 plays in a row. The referees can't even call the penalty enough because they're like, wait, are they that stupid? They're lining offsides again. I mean, it literally came to that. It's just, there's too much of that in Chicago. I don't know any other way to say it. It really is. And again, I look at Chicago, and I don't think the talent on the field is that horrible. I don't. I understand the GM and the coach are probably going to get fired there, maybe both. But I look at some of the players on the field and go, what's wrong? What's wrong with that? I don't understand. That player's good. You break down their front seven, I go, it's good. They got a corner in Jalen Johnson, who I know he didn't play last night. He's really good. Safeties are pretty good. O-line needs some work, but they can run block a little bit. You got two pretty good receivers in Robinson and Mooney. We saw, and even the Jakeem Grant. Right? That was him last night, right? Yeah, exactly. Cole Kmet. To me, that's where I look at it in a weird way. I know they're probably both tied at the hip, but I look at it more of the coaching being an issue in Chicago than anything else.
I know this take isn't going to be very popular in Chicago because they're out for blood, but is it not the height of dysfunction for the Bears to have made it to the playoffs in 2018 when they won the division and were ousted by the double doink, made it to the playoffs last year, and I know it was 8-8 and it was the first year of the extra spot, but they still made it. They made it 2 out of the last 3 years. And they went all in for Justin Fields. See, the message that would be sent by a normal functional football organization when they traded up from 20 to 11 in April was, we're getting a quarterback here, we're taking Justin Fields, everybody's safe for at least 2 years because we're not dumb enough to give up next year's first-round pick on a quarterback, knowing that we're thinking about getting rid of the coach or the GM and bringing in somebody else and hoping that they really want to work with that quarterback because it's such a personal decision and you have to be a Justin Fields guy. And good luck finding a Justin Fields guy now because they're not going to tell you the truth when they're trying to get the job as the head coach of the Bears. They'll come in with their own agenda. Once they have their contract, it's fully guaranteed they're going to take over. That's what football coaches do. But the Bears are dysfunctional. And it's not a slap at Pace and Nagy. They're just the symptoms of the deeper problem in Chicago. And I keep saying, if anybody's going this time around, Ted Phillips has got to go. And I don't know why the executives with these teams who aren't part of ownership, who are the ones who are deciding who gets hired and fired to be the GM and the coach, why are they untouchable?
I don't know either.
And why is it considered bad form to talk about they need to be fired? Oh, that's bad form. Why?
Yeah,
why?
I know.
Ted Phillips doesn't own the team.
Right.
He's been there 22 years. They've won 3 playoff games. If Nagy and or Pace are gone, it's time for Ted Phillips to go. And Bears fans, that's what you should be demanding. Because until Ted Phillips is gone, because he's the common link all the way back to 99, every disappointment you've had, I know you went to a Super Bowl once, but it's kind of the aberration. It really is. It's all Ted Phillips. He's the guy that brought you Phil Emery. He's the guy that brought you Mark Trestman. He's the guy that brought you what you currently have that you don't like, although I think you're being a little unreasonable, and I think you're scarred by what's happened in the past. I think if you wipe away everything that came before Pace and Nagy, the fans would be more inclined to be patient with Pace and Nagy. They went to the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. This is astounding to me that it's just become a given that the Bears are going to clean house below Ted Phillips. If they're going to hit the button, the eject button's got to be Ted Phillips first, and then everybody else after.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there, Mike. I'm not. I mean, you're right. It is weird that people in those type of situations or job titles seem to get a free pass more times than not. Certainly, it is the one constant there. Yes, things are. Again, somewhat of a disaster. I know they made the play. To me, this is too where they made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. We get that. We get that. But really, like that first year, they were a phenomenal football team, and they lost in the first round of the playoffs. to an Eagles team that I know is the defending Super Bowl champion and all that, but they lost to the lesser team in the playoffs, then don't go to the playoffs. And then last year, yes, 8-8, but man, to me, again, where the talent's better than 8-8. They've had a unbelievable, top tier playoff type defense the last few years too. And again, it hasn't translated into the wins, let alone the Mitchell Trubisky and how that went. And you're an offensive coach. And, of course, the offense is horrible. There's no other way to say that either. So that's where it doesn't line up in the favor of anybody there right now. And you're right. It's time, I think, to just clean house. And I don't know if that happens here in the next few weeks or they just wait out the year. But either way, I think it's inevitable as far as the coach is concerned. Now, we'll see with Ted Phillips and Ryan Pace and see where it goes from there too.
Well, again, that ability to get a head start when others are having a head start. And I think it may be kind of a domino effect, too. As some start, others will jump in because you're not going to want to be the one team that waits until the end of the regular season.
Right.
And everybody else has already had their virtual interview with a smattering of candidates or more. I will say this, too, on the way to break. After seeing what the NFC North has to offer between the Vikings and the Bears last night, and we know what the Lions are, although they did beat the Cardinals. When the Packers won on Sunday in Baltimore and they're wearing these Run the North T-shirts very proudly, it's like, have you looked around? I don't want to take anything away from the Packers, but you haven't exactly conquered the Soviet Union here. I mean, it's the Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions.
I know.
If you can't win that division by week 15, something is very wrong with the Green Bay Packers.
Well, listen, they can't help the rest of the teams in the division. You're right. But you still wear it like a badge of honor. You do. I mean, whether the other three teams are good or not, who cares? You let them know that you're still the damn Kings. That's for sure. I mean, I know that. But, yeah, it's just, again, right now, Minnesota's in the playoffs. I can't even believe it. I'm sorry. I'm going to be rooting hard against them down the stretch here. And it's not personal.
I am too.
I just don't want to see it.
I am too.
Last night explains it too. I mean, the Bears, it's so similar to the feeling I had with the Raiders. I just go, the Bears, they were missing the whole football team and practiced one day the whole week. And you couldn't put them away. And in fact, they outplayed you for most of the night and just messed things up all the time. I mean, literally, peed down their leg consistently throughout the game. They really did. It's the only reason the Vikings win, and there they are 7-7 in the playoffs right now. So for part 2 of breaking a game down, that's what that is. I can't believe they're in the playoffs. I cannot believe it.
Rams, Packers, Bears for the Vikings.
Please, Rams.
They get the Rams coming off of an even shorter week than the Vikings.
I know. It's unbelievable.
The Vikings play Monday night, and they get more of a break than the Rams.
That's crazy.
The Rams are going to have to fly to Minnesota for this one. But I think the Vikings have to run the table to get in, and I hope they look. I want good, exciting playoff games. And if the Vikings are in the playoffs, it is not going to be a good game. It is not going to be an exciting game. Because it's going to be 7 seed against somebody like the Packers or the Bucks, and it's going to be like, okay, we'll get this one over with and bring on the next one.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.